Welcome back to the party. I'm Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. On today's show, we're talking whose stock is pointing up from Vikings training camp thus far.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan from the Wide Lev Substack. I'm really disappointed to learn just now that Luke Braun is on the show.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and I'm on the show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another episode of the Minnesota Football Party right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Jam-packed episode lined up today. Once again, we're talking biggest risers, biggest fallers from training camp. Per Alec Lewis's latest piece up on The Athletic Plus. There's some more news and notes I want to hit on as well from practice, like Will Reichert apparently hitting 65-yard bombs. And, of course, always love to take some fan questions, too. So hit us up on the stream, hit us up in the chat throughout the next 30, 40 minutes or so. We'll try to hit on a couple of those as well. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. Make every moment more. This summer, FanDuel is hooking you up with a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. You name it, they got it. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started.
It's time to tell you who spilled.
We're not doing a party foul. Not quite yet. Don't worry. Things
Party
are not
foul.
off the rails yet.
Luke Inman.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We're
Luke
just
clicking
fine.
the wrong button.
Hey, Sam moved all these buttons around. That's what's going on, okay?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
sure, dude.
But speaking of buttons, first things first here, guys. This just in, training camp practice under the lights tonight at the friendly confines of TCO apparently has been canceled tonight due to thunderstorms. If you've never been to the training camp practice under the lights, the scrimmage, it's like the one to go to, right? Under the lights, I guess they had a concert all lined up for tonight as well. It's always a big spectacle. And it really is. It's like one of the best and most popular nights of the summer for Vikings fans when it comes to training camp. Luke, I know you flew in. It was either last year or 2 years prior. You did a live stream walking back after practice to your car. That was awesome. But thunderstorms, I guess, put a kibosh on that. They're going to reschedule that for next Monday, which I believe will be right before they head to Cleveland for those joint practices. So after preseason game 1 in Vegas, right before Cleveland joint practices. But we're only 5 days away, guys, from preseason game number 1, which that's just like insane to even say. 5 days away from Vikings football. They travel to Vegas, taking on the Raiders Friday afternoon, kickoff Saturday. I believe that's at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, I believe. Obviously, we can't wait to see him put on the pads, finally start to hit and play a different opponent. We'll get to see the first real depth chart in action, what it all looks like. We'll get to see, again, Will Reichert apparently hitting bombs from practice, a 58-yarder to end practice Saturday afternoon. Apparently, it easily cleared from 65, but we'll get to Alec Lewis's biggest risers and fallers. Let's just start with one storyline or one thing you're most excited to watch about this first preseason game. Could be anything, a depth chart battle, a rookie in action you get to see up close and personal for the first time, anything. Arif, start with you. What are you excited to see Saturday versus the Raiders in game
1? Theo Jackson, the way Brian Flores has been talking about.
Speaking of training camp risers.
Yeah, the Vikings are just full of safety talent that they don't draft in the first round. Just incredible work there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that kind of seeing how the defense, and we're not going to see the scheme week 1, right? Or in the preseason, right? But like seeing how the defense adapts to the fact that it has to be substantially different than what it was last year because it got functionally figured out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious about that. Obviously, if we get to see time for like Dallas Turner to play, that'd be nice. We're hearing a lot about people like Gabe Murphy and Dwight McLaughlin. I'm sure both of them are going to get pretty significant time. So mostly these guys, the guys that like you can build some buzz around, but don't come in with like the first round, pedigree where we inherently want to follow them. Just like guys who are going to pop that maybe have some reason for us to consider paying attention to them. And then also, obviously, kickoff. Like, what's that going to look like? Right. How are the Vikings going to handle it? Every team's handling it differently. The kickoff from the Hall of Fame game, what didn't produce enormous highlights, but it did produce some variance in the field position you got off kickoffs, which was a nice change from the last 3 years of kickoffs we've had. So I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, no, a lot of good answers there. Good breakdown. Luke Braun, what are you most excited to see Saturday?
JJ. I want to see it. I want to see what everybody's
Deshaun Jones?
Yeah, exactly.
JJ.
The star of my preseason fantasy team, mind you.
That's right.
No, like I want to see what McCarthy can do when there's a team that's actually trying to hurt him. Like that's the difference of like right now, mechanically, the best reps are the one-on-one drills, the 7-ons, the stuff with no line, no pressure. And even the stuff with pressure, you'll see good reps, but obviously, it's two-hand touch, right? They'll let you still get your rep off and stuff. So there's still not that true idea of someone's actually trying to tackle you and sack you. So I'm excited to see just how far he has come. And if he still has a long way to go, I'm like still excited to be able to break that down and have something to chew on, have some new tape to watch.
Yeah, I same wavelength. I had the same thing written down. Again, like you said, so much of practice for the most part is kind of built around favoring the quarterback, 7-on-7 drills. Like you said, no pass rush to face. They got the red jerseys on. Nobody can even breathe. Don't get close. Don't even breathe at them. Don't even look on them, which is obviously smart. You don't want your
and they're using that.
Hurt, but.
Like they're having him go slow because be really deliberate about your footwork. Read it, shift your feet. Read it, shift your feet. Read it. Nobody's coming to get you. But things will have to speed up even in a preseason setting. And that'll be a very interesting stress test.
It will be, and some of the biggest cliches are true. I want to see what they look like, both him and Darnold, for that matter, when the bullets start flying, right? How do they look? How do they respond to some real live pressure in their face for once? Want to see them, what they look like, how they handle these different blitzes, these different looks, making checks and audibles and calls at the line too. So yeah, just ready to see what it all looks like when the bullets start flying and what this passing game looks like specifically, with obviously the top two, with JJ and Darnold, of course, but all four of these guys, really. I mean, a lot riding on those reps. And it all starts Saturday in Vegas, 3 p.m. Can't wait. A fantastic article just dropped. I'm not sure if either of you guys had time to peruse it, but up on The Athletic, Alec Lewis, he's got his biggest risers, biggest fallers from camp, kind of stock up, stock down. I just wanted to get your guys' impressions, knee-jerk reactions, kind of who's impressed the most and kind of who's tripped out of the gate a little bit, so to speak, especially now that we're 9 practices in. We actually have a bigger body of work, a bigger sample size to work with too. So let's just start with the biggest riser. So stock pointing up, there's 7 guys he's got listed with stock pointing up. 5 are on defense, only 2 on offense. The 2 on offense are both wide receivers, and both guys we've talked about on the show before, Jalen Naylor and Luke's guy, Deshaun Jones. And he wrote in here, Jones has popped up in practice almost every single day, stuck out in a good way, right? Making a handful of nice contested catches. Maybe he ends up on the practice squad he put in there, but sounds like he's definitely kind of separated himself from some of the pack anyways. And then Jalen Naylor, on the other hand, barring an injury, of course, it really feels like, from everything we're hearing and seeing, like this wide receiver 3 battle is pretty much his to lose. Like when they go 11 personnel in practice, he's been the primary guy more times than not. So, Alec,
I'm going to need him to calm down a little bit so that he actually plays in the preseason, it would be
right. You need
insane
him. Yes,
for me to draft him twice and for him to miss both preseasons for completely different reasons. That would be so frustrating. So I'm going to need him to calm down like a little bit, right? Let Brandon Powell back into the competition. Make sure that we've got a little bit going on, and then after the 2 preseason, it doesn't have to be 3, just 2 preseason games, and he can have the job. We haven't seen him in a game yet. That's what I'm saying. The Vikings obviously will need to see him prove it. Also, we have seen him in games.
Luke, does Arif sound like a robot to you?
He does sound like a robot, but that's kind of on brand for Arif. So I didn't want to say anything out loud, and be that guy. But sounds a little bit robotish. Arif, maybe you want to refresh. Oh,
yep.
A lot better. There we go.
Better.
Check 1, 2. So, speaking of our fantasy
live production, everybody.
Teams, live production. That's
apologies for that.
That's what you get. Speaking of our fantasy preseason teams, N'Keal Harry, another news and notes. He left practice along with Jerry Tillery as well. We'll get to all that. But Luke, Jones has been your guy from day one, more or less. Just quick thoughts on both these guys, Jalen Nailor and Jones, kind of sticking out, separating from the pack just a little bit.
Yeah, Jayshon Jones ended up on my preseason fantasy team as the second to last player drafted, which means now I'm all in on him. But I think for me, it's the players that have made something of it every day. And according to Alec Lewis, he has had moments every single day, and stacking all of those is. That's what Brandon Powell did last year.
Right.
Every day we were like, okay, Brandon Powell was the stud of the day. Brandon Powell was the stud of the day, over and over and over and over again. And it feels like Jalen Nailor is accomplishing that again this year. And it doesn't sound like Powell's having anything to be concerned about. It's just that Nailor is stacking those days over and over and over. But that's where there is signal in camp, when it is consistent. Every once in a while, there was one day.
Hashtag everydayers.
Yes.
Right.
Hashtag everydayer, baby. There was one day Brian Asamoah had a great day, flew all over the field, but it was one day, a good day. But are you stacking it? Are you having it over and over and over and over again? That is what I think gets me excited about Jalen Nailor as wide receiver 3 prospect. And I think gets us out of that headspace we were in for so long with Diggs and Thielen, where we're suddenly looking at the free agent market, looking at what unrosterable wide receiver 3s we can maybe trade for. Feels good to have a third guy and be like, okay, we got a guy, we trust him.
We finally got a guy. We feel comfortable with him. What I love about the whole situation too, it doesn't feel like he's wide receiver 3 right now by default, because nobody else would.
Right.
It really
he would have been 4 if it were chalk. He usurped
Powell would have been
a guy that O'Connell likes.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, it really feels like he went out and took the job. He's won this job outright. Again, knock on wood, barring injury. And he even went, he was flashing, granted, albeit small sample size, but he was flashing and looked good. His stock was pointing up in the small sample size we got last offseason as well. But you bring up such a good point, though, too, Luke. As reporters talking about this stuff, dissecting everything, we can only go off of what's in front of us. In those first 2, 3, 4 days, it's like, okay, I'm trying not to make too big of a deal of one practice or one splash play, but this is all we have to go off of. Now we finally have a bigger sample size. And to your point, Jalen Nailor has stacked these days on top of one another. And he's been by far one of the more consistent wide receivers. And again, he's earned this wide receiver 3 spot as of now anyways. The 5 defenders with stock pointing up, Theo Jackson, who Arif already called out, has been one of the coaches just constantly singing his praises. Jonah Williams, defensive lineman, Fabian Moreau, Gabe Murphy, and Dwight McGlothern. So you got 2 more UDFAs sticking out, which is obviously fun to see. You got a guy who they plucked off the streets just a week ago, getting first-team reps at cornerback. Jonah Williams apparently taking advantage of the time Jerry Tillery's missed, and he's apparently flashed a little bit in one-on-ones, both in the pass game and the run game. And then I don't think we can say enough about just how much, again, the coaches have been singing the praise of Theo Jackson, man. It really feels like right now Flores has 4 legitimate starting caliber safeties to play with right now. Arif, what sticks out from these 5 names here on this list?
I think the one that's kind of interesting, given the Vikings' cornerback issues, is Dwight McGlothern. I don't think he's going to start or anything like that, but I do think it's kind of you head into camp and you think, hey, man, the Vikings are not good at cornerback. But, like, what does it mean to be not good? Obviously, the starting situation isn't great, but it sounds like the depth is actually not bad. Obviously, I think I'd rather have a good set of 3 starters than a great set of 3 backups, right? But, it's not as dire as it seems. I think just from that perspective, just kind of given the way that people have been talking about, this cornerback group. The other side of that, of course, is that Andrew Booth is one of the fallers, I guess, is maybe the best way to put that.
Yeah.
Not that he had a great height to fall from, but that's not wonderful, right? But you've got a Caleb Evans, you've got Dwight McLaughlin. Like, there is like a group here that if an injury occurs, which at cornerback that tend to just occur every year, that you've got people that'll come in and there's not going to be a huge drop off in production. Again, I'd like better starters, we all would. But that depth, that area is like not bad. And then obviously I think at edge rusher, the way they're talking about Gabe Murphy. So I just got to talk up my consensus board, guys, right? See, when they do well, it's my consensus
For the brand.
board.
Yeah, exactly.
When they do poorly, it's the consensus. They all
it's everyone else's aggregate.
Yeah. But Murphy doing well is great too, because then that means there's like a pretty significant depth, depending on what you think of Pat Jones, pretty significant depth at edge rusher as well, and they want to use that in third down packages. Reportedly Brian Flores is putting all 4 edge rushers on the field for some of these third and longs.
Obviously, I just want to go back to Theo Jackson, the safeties, real quick. If Flores is just going to play his best 11 guys, more downs than not, and obviously, too, like down and distance plays a huge factor and all that, I get it.
Yeah,
but
they did that 4-edge thing on third down.
They did it for, yeah, exactly. But if you asked him to rank just his top 11 guys right now on defense, I think it feels like you'd see 4 safeties on that list, which again, it's just kind of wild to see. It makes me think you're probably, again, going to see all 4 of them on the field at certain times during games throughout the season because, again, Theo Jackson, it just feels like he's been too good to just leave on the bench because you got 3 other safeties ahead of him right now on the depth chart. He's out there making plays at practice very consistently, and it's just like we were talking about Jalen Naylor. It's the guys who are doing it on a larger scale, a bigger sample size consistently day in and day out. You got to put Theo Jackson on that list too. Luke, what do you think?
Do you think this gives us an opportunity to put Harrison Smith on a pitch count and keep him more fresh?
So he played the most.
Or is that something is it like?
Yeah.
Am I thinking too hard?
No. He played the most snaps he's ever played in his career last year. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe
there were 17 games last year. But yeah,
that's true.
And that's a team couldn't get off the field. But,
that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't be surprised at all if he was on a pitch count. What that pitch count looks like exactly, I'm not sure. But
and you just rotate Theo Jackson.
Yeah,
sometimes. You give him a drive or 2 off.
Yeah,
I don't think that's crazy. I do think they'll be hesitant to do that, right? Because they've got an extremely young team. He is Harrison Smith, right? Notably, not wearing the green dot. They want to give that to a linebacker, and I guess it's Ivan Pace, which is also, I think, interesting in its own right. But yeah, Harrison Smith is an unquestioned leader. He's obviously like a Hall of Famer. I don't know if the national media will see him as a Hall of Famer. In my heart, he's a Hall of Famer. But yeah, it would be tough to take him off the field, especially because I wouldn't consider last year a drop-off. In fact, last year was better than the year before when he was misused in that defense. But it makes sense to do a pitch count, I think. Like, he should take the bulk of the snaps in every game if he's healthy. But yeah, I think if you've got the safety talent and it is as versatile as, it seems to be, you want to keep him active and healthy and available, like, in the fourth quarter with as much energy as possible so that you don't have to worry about him slowing down.
I don't want to jump around too much, but just because we're talking about Dirty Harry here, a lot of people assume it's going to be his last year. We'll see. You never know. But everybody's seen the stats, the side-by-side player-to-player comparison with Troy Polamalu. He's right there, if not even has Troy Polamalu in a lot of different categories, by the way. Luke, you're the historian. We're so far away from even these conversations, but where do you think he's going to end up ranking? Like, what tier of kind of Vikings all-time greats when it's all said and done? Obviously, the Vikings have had a couple great safeties and cornerbacks back there as well.
They kind of always have a great safety.
It feels like it's running backs and safeties, it feels like.
And always, at least one defensive lineman, if not a whole unit. But Yeah, I don't think he surpasses Paul Krause, and I don't think anyone ever will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Joey Browner is then the next name that
Yep.
you can argue over. I would personally put Harrison Smith over Joey Browner, but if you disagree with me, I won't fight you on it. That's, I guess, where he ends up. But what we're going to do here is we're going to get mad about him not getting in the Hall of Fame for about 3 decades now. He's not going to get in. It's unfortunate. I want him to.
We're
but
very
he's not
set in stone about that. We feel pretty confident.
Okay, so
that he's not
here's the
gonna-
thing. He has one first-team All-Pro, one second-team All-Pro. That is a and safeties already have a difficult time getting in. Just ask any Packers fans about Leroy Butler, right? Like,
and was never part of an all-time great team. It was that 2017 defense.
Yeah, if 2017 had won, maybe we could have that conversation, right?
Like, what if the Steelers hadn't won those Super Bowls? Do we look at Troy Polamalu the same?
It's a fair point, man. It's a fair point.
So yeah, I think he is a Hall of Famer in the sense that his talent level deserves that. I think he's been, I don't know if screwed is the right term, because at his prime there were also 3-4 other safeties, like Eric Weddle, for instance. Like, you're competing with healthy Eric Berry, Eric Weddle, and then also late career Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, and it's like, oh, you don't have a first team All Pro? Wow, you must suck, right? Like, that's a tough group to crack, right? Yeah. So like, that's part of it, but also like, yeah, I mean, he has the talent level that one would expect of a multiple-time first-team All-Pro. His statistics match, that. But it's really hard, especially at safety, if you've won first-team All-Pro. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. But it's a difficult task, especially 5 years removed after he's retired.
Right.
All of that. But if you ask, like, players around the league, opponents, like, hey, who are the most difficult safeties that you've played against? Harrison Smith would be up there with anybody else, like, as an elite talent. So it's a tough one. I think it's unlikely he makes the Hall of Fame. Maybe near the end of his eligibility cycle. I don't think he has to necessarily be a senior committee guy. Yeah. But near the end of his eligibility cycles, he's not going to be a first ballot or anything close to that. But it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough out there for sure. 13th season coming up here. And again, especially in today's day and age, to play all 13 seasons with the same team, it just doesn't happen very often, too. So whether he makes the Hall of Fame or not, he'll always be a legend. He'll be in that Ring of Honor. For Vikings fans, obviously, they know how good he was, too. Holding steady, Alec Lewis's next section here, holding steady. He's got 3 guys, and it's kind of not stock up, not stock down, but just guys he wanted to kind of give an update, how they've looked, maybe just give them a shout out. 3 guys in this section: Blake Brandel, Ryan Wright, and Johnny Munt. And with Brandel, he pretty much comes out and just says it. The left guard battle, there is no left guard battle unless something crazy happens. I've
been saying that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, forget about the pencil. Don't pencil him in. Just Sharpie him in, basically, at this point. Okay, it's his job to lose. Ryan Wright, it sounds like outside of one brutal shank, I guess, in practice, he's been pretty good. He's also the holder for Will Riker, too, so that probably plays a factor, I guess.
Yeah.
That probably plays a factor. And then last one, just real quick, Johnny Munt. He's been taking advantage of Hockenson being out. He's shown up consistently, catching a lot of balls, also being a capable blocker. Plus, we all know KOC, every time he talks about him like it's his own son or something. Yeah. Best tight end 3 in the league. So quick thoughts on those 3 guys, or what sticks out the most?
The fact that Ryan Wright has not been rotating as a holder, but is the holder.
A guy.
Yeah,
is informative.
Yeah, he's the guy. The other punter is there to make sure that they have enough punt return reps in practice and that they have their files updated.
Oh, yeah.
In case Ryan Wright goes down. Those are the 2 reasons that he's still on the roster. Otherwise, it's just Ryan Wright's. I don't even know who the other guy is. Seth something? That sounds right.
Seth Vernon.
There you go.
Just did him on the Everman series today. Wanted to be a receiver, and then nope.
Oh, he wanted the Zach Davidson, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he wanted to be a receiver, and then got nothing, and then went to punt at JUCO.
Oh. I mean,
Yeah.
All things considered, it's turned out surprisingly well for a guy who didn't make it at his first job.
Had a good college career, and then didn't make the Falcons, and put his severance letter up on the wall, as a motivation, and then got no calls from anyone for 2 years until this May.
I would have been fairly demotivated regardless of the severance letter I put up on the wall. That's an incredible stick-to-itiveness that I don't have. Unfortunately, he's not holding. So
it's honestly probably a like with specialists, leg fatigue management is like really like rep management is really important. That's why kickers don't sit there and kick for 2 hours in a row because they'll blow their legs out. So for like return drills and stuff like that, if you can get those punts to go off without using Ryan Wright's leg, it's like not a competition. He's literally just a camp leg.
Right.
That sounds like what that is if he's not holding.
Sounds like it feels like a Tommy John thing with pitchers in baseball. I don't know if there's a equivalent to Tommy John
count.
Something like that.
But yeah, I mean that's the take on that. Johnny Mundt is Johnny Mundt. He's gonna Johnny Mundt all over the place. That's great for him.
The Mundt cake.
Yeah, the Mundt cake.
The Mundt cake, baby.
And then Blake Bradle. I hope their clear decision on that goes well because
they've not considered anything else at all.
No,
this is not a competition. He just has it,
man. Yeah, and I guess I don't know. What are you guys assuming the starters play at all? One series or something like that?
No, I don't think they'll play anything.
Okay.
We won't see Andy Darnold. We probably won't see Mundt. We probably won't see Oliver.
Right.
We won't see like Addison or Jefferson. It to the point where players who are healthy scratches, if Naylor doesn't play, he won the job. Like that tells us that he won the job.
That speaks volumes. You're totally right.
I think a healthy competition at wide receiver 3 is necessary.
Yeah. Well,
right.
And they play Ty Chandler.
I agree, but if we don't see it.
Right, if we don't see it. Last section here, stock down guys here, just real quick. 4 guys on the list, stock down, all defense, by the way. And I suppose if you're going to have 5 winners on defense, guys would stock up. There's got to be some losers. So first 2, won't shock anybody, Lewis Seen and Andrew Booth. The next 2, Andre Carter and Jaquelin Roy. So Seen, as we know, he just hasn't practiced, can't make the club in the tub. So are they just going to eat that $5 million and part ways? I guess that's the big question. Just
you can trade him.
You could trade him as well. Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to eat the money. Just get somebody's 2027, 6 for 7th or something like that, and let some team that had a high draft grade on him think that they can fix him and do that.
Yeah, Burrito Bill. And I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'd have to do some research, pull out our lads, look at the depths. But any teams with a wealth of cornerback depth, but weak at safety, who might be a trade partner. And I don't think if they were to trade Lewis Seen, it necessarily means, they're trying to get a cornerback back.
Yeah, you wouldn't get a real player back.
We're just trying to get that 7th round conditional pick. And
it would be someone we're going to cut for someone you're going to cut. If you're looking for actual useful cornerback depth, you probably have to part ways with like Theo Jackson or Metellus or somebody, and I don't think the Vikings are going to want to do that. No. I think you just take your 2028 draft pick and and say that one was a miss.
Yeah. I don't think they'll get as much out of a trade for Theo Jackson as the internal regard they hold for him.
Agreed.
The league doesn't know
it's not
going to
move the needle. It's not going to make you feel like you're getting good value for the name brand, for how good you feel about him. You're totally right. Just to put things into perspective. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, just we have a comment from Oops61869. Nice. How about Xavier Howard? Yeah. I encourage you to Google Xavier Howard and see what's going on off the field for him. Before we
that is a good idea.
Think about
also,
as
he's brisket. He's just a nice.
Outside of what you learn when you Google Xavier Howard, outside of all that, he's just toast. He's burnt.
There's genuinely like 5 other free agent corners that take over him, but he's the name we know.
Like 38-year-old Stephon Gilmore, I think, is probably a better. Who technically he did work with Flores in New England, so there's
right.
Yeah. But also, I think Fabian Moreau is. That's the guy we chose to sign instead of one of those older players.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
And apparently he's doing well. So
apparently he's doing well. Getting reps with the ones. Just to put things into perspective with Andrew Booth, Alec Lewis wrote, he's now losing reps to A.J. Green and UDFA Jalen Williams on the 3rd team. So obviously looking pretty bleak for him. They only got to eat 1.7 million.
Dude.
It's rough.
You're losing your job to other A.J. Green, man.
No, not that AJ Green. The other one. They only got to eat 1.7 mil if they want to part ways, cut him early. 4 names, though. Again, all stock pointing down. Anything else kind of jump out to you or just kind of knee-jerk reaction when you hear those 4 names?
Jaquelin Roy kind of surprises me to be on that one. The other 3 don't surprise me at all. Yeah. The other 3 just I don't think are NFL players, and then that's kind of just where we're at, which is a bummer, right? First and second round pick. But Jaquelin Roy surprises me because I heard that he had gotten first team reps and thought he was doing a little better than that. But if he's been usurped, yeah, I guess, by Levi Drake Rodriguez getting more reps with the ones, it seems like everybody's rotated a little bit on that defensive line too. So maybe reps with the ones aren't as instructive as I thought.
7th rounder, Levi Drake Rodriguez should have showed up on the RISERS list. That's crazy.
Well, we're going to get to Will Raggett's news and notes, too, and nothing redundant. We're not going to go over anything that overlaps or doubles down, but he does mention Levi Drake Rodriguez getting some run with the ones. Just real quick, fantastic stuff from Alec Lewis up on The Athletic, per usual. Go check it out if you haven't already. Again, practice under the lights tonight, postponed, rescheduled now for next Monday, August 12th. Preseason game this Saturday in Vegas, kickoff 3 p.m. for that one. All right, don't go anywhere. We do have some more training camp news and notes. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. We all love sports. We love them so much. We never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, obviously we get fewer and fewer games to sit down and watch. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do, open up the FanDuel app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Right now, Vikings are 1.5-point underdogs week 1 versus the Giants. Over under for that one sitting at 41.5. Or baseball, obviously in full swing. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. So what are you waiting for? Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your bets this summer. Visit FanDuel.com today. FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Super quick. Did you guys see the news about the new Hawkeye technology they're going to test out and kind of implement in preseason games as well? Potentially it could ultimately remove the chain gang, and the hope is obviously you just get a more accurate spot. Do we like that? Do you like where this is kind of headed, leading into the technology, the advancements that are out there?
No more index cards and eyeballing it?
Index cards.
So it sounds like this is in optical technology. It's not like chip technology or anything like that.
I believe so, but you know what? My follow-up was gonna be and ask you guys, I guess, how long until they just put that RFID chip
I don't
in
want
the
the chip in the ball. I don't want
just,
the chip.
just
They're
know
trying it in the UFL, but it's still inexact because you can't compare to when the knee was down. You still need a human perspective on that.
But they are using timing is difficult.
Yeah, the timing is difficult, but they are using it to aid in spots, as a tool, which I guess helps. But I don't think you'll be able to fully automate it.
Got it. Okay.
Let the UFL figure it out. Let them have a bunch of weird things.
It is great. They figured out the kickoff. Fantastic. We'll let them experiment with other stuff. And I do like that the NFL regularly uses the preseason to experiment with stuff, moving the extra point back and stuff like that. Before they introduced the 2-point conversion as a rule, which I think was that an XFL rule or an AFL? It was another league's rule that they brought in.
I want to say it was 94 when they did that.
Yeah, it was surprisingly late, but they did try that out in the preseason before the regular season. I like that they do that. In optical tracking technology with enough resolution, I think it's superior to a chip in the ball, just generally speaking, because it's a lot easier to match with, the ruling that someone is down, which might be a forward progress ruling, right? Yeah. Which is really difficult to align. Or, a knee down or something it's a little bit easier to match that because with the chip data, you have to make sure everything is calibrated correctly in terms of timing, which can be really, really difficult. But with an optical technology, I think that would work probably pretty well if calibrated correctly and if you've got enough resolution and if there's enough, smart minds in the software department trying to figure that out. So I'm curious about it. I'd prefer that over the index, which technically it was not appropriate to use an index card, the league said, but I loved that they did that.
It's just an iconic moment.
Yeah, on someone's eyeballing of the spot.
It's I think it goes here, and hey, the first down marker, which is always accurate. We'll just bring that out and the chain, and then these two objective measurements.
Does anyone have a laser measure?
And the chain,
right? Dude, Dude, there's just, I mean, especially with sports gambling legal now, too. There's so much money riding on a lot of these games. People are trying to take some of the human element, like human element error out of some of it. But at the same time, it's just like what they've done in baseball. They're never getting rid of the umps, man. Even though we got that strike zone and everything else, like it's just always going to be a part of the game. I will say I am intrigued, though, to see how this looks. And I like that somebody else is going through some trial and error, because if there are ways we can improve the rules or just advance the game in any way, I'm all for it for sure. So
the one thing, before we move on, the one thing that I would be fascinated by is if there's some way to game that system, change your technique to get a couple of extra, inches in your forward progress. Like there might be some way the optical tracking works,
like sprinter style.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, get a little, like, kind of lurch forward about to get tackled. But don't reach it out.
It's like,
don't reach out. The NFL's legislating that out of the game. Don't reach out for the pylon. We hate putting that in our commercials.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's like
bad news. Like, don't do that. We hate watching it.
With human umpires, you've got pitch framing. Like the whole skill set is tricking an umpire about the strike zone.
Right.
But there are like ways to manipulate machines based off of how the measurement is calculated. So you could.
I love it. I'm so glad I brought. I didn't even know if I was going to bring that up, but I'm so glad I brought that up to you too, because you guys bring up a lot of good points and stuff that I didn't even really think about.
It wasn't even on the agenda. I didn't do any research on this. So
no, you
surprised we got some.
Yeah, we actually got some good substance out of that one. A couple more just super quick practice notes and news from Will Ragatz up at SportsIllustrated.com. I wanted to hit on just rapid fire through some of these. The A topic in there, I mean, the first half of the article is all about breaking down the top two quarterbacks. Sounds like both quarterbacks had great days Saturday. Both of them were ripping it up. Sam Darnold growing a good connection, a good rapport with Justin Jefferson on a couple deep bombs, which is good. He said JJ McCarthy looks sharp in 7s and 11s, kind of building some more momentum, as well. The nitty-gritty stuff, though, is what I wanted to get into. Jerry Tillery left practice. We talked about that. Jonah Williams.
Jerry Tillery update. Matthew Collar tweeted out that he just got cleated. He should be fine. It was probably just super painful.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, well, Jonah Williams taking advantage of some of those reps with the ones. And, like we teased, Levi Drake Rodriguez also getting run with the ones. So the day 3 rookie there, just kind of taking advantage of some of those reps for sure. N'Keal Harry, Lewis Seen, both not practicing. N'Keal, I need you for my preseason fantasy team. I hope he suits up on Saturday.
I don't know, man.
Oh, boy, not looking
I have a
great
question there.
Yeah.
So this has been a 4 tight end team, I think. Is that still gonna? Because do we still have 4, or is this? So I was doing a 53-man roster, and
Bobby Tunyon's fighting for a job in week 5. That's what's happening.
Right. Yeah, Nick Muse, Tunyon. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like if you had Oliver, Munt, and Muse, TJ Hockenson out. If N'Keal Harry is hurt, then you're talking about like Sammis Reyes or somebody like that.
Big Bobby Tunyon. Come on.
Also hurt.
He's hurt though, right?
He'll be fine.
Okay, he'll be fine.
Yeah. Is he going to miss all of camp though? Like, can't make the club in the tub, right?
Right.
Right. Or do you decide to keep one more wide receiver this time, or at least for now until TJ Hockenson is back? It felt like that was an interesting roster, like the 4th tight end or the 6th wide receiver.
They kept 4 tight ends last year
would be an incredible move.
Wideouts.
Yeah. Well, he's international pathways, so he kind of doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many tight ends and how many receivers did they keep last year? 4 tight ends, 5 receivers, or was it 6?
They've been 4 tight ends for like 3 years.
Yeah, it's always 4 tight ends. I could look it up. A couple more, just rapid fire run through these. Will Reichert ended practice going 6 for 6. He had a 58-yard bomb to end practice that looked like it was good from 65 plus. 2 more here. New safety Bobby McCain. He had a sick diving PBU and one-on-ones. And this is the one that caught my eye. Deep sleeper time. He says UDFA linebacker Owen Porter just looks like an NFL player when he's out on the practice field. Ever since the pads have come on, he's been popping out in one-on-one drills. So maybe just another name to jot down, keep in the back of your mind. He mentioned Deshaun Jones as well.
I don't think Will Ragatz is talking about how broad this guy's shoulders are. I think he means he's playing up to the level that you would expect an NFL player to play up to.
That also could be. Oh, he said Brian Asamoah. Apparently, when it comes to just being the most vocal, the most chippy guy, It's
that
Brian
means
Asamoah.
nothing to me.
Yeah,
I'm good for him. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'd be
him,
tilted too. To be
Hey,
honest.
he's got a lot. Hey, a lot of pressure on him. He's got a lot riding on this training camp and preseason too. So, yeah. Okay. Let's move on here. Let's actually go to a quick ad read, and then we'll come back. And there is a new rankings out. ESPN just dropped their top 10 player rankings at each position in the NFL. We'll see how many Minnesota Vikings made that list here just after this. Okay, another article to break down here. Why not here? Okay, Monday, August 5th. ESPN just dropped their top 10 player rankings at each position in the NFL. So this is voted by, NFL executives, coaches, scouts. Any guesses on how many Vikings made the list for top 10 at their respective positions? Anybody want to take a stab?
Without thinking about it, shooting from the hip, 4.
Yep.
I have no idea.
Okay. And those 4 would be JJ, obviously, probably Darius.
I said I wasn't thinking about it.
Okay, fair enough. Yep, 4.
Sure.
Yep. Put it on the board. Luke, you want to take a stab, or you want me to read it off?
Probably just Jefferson.
Okay. JJ, number 1 at his position. Yeah. TJ Hockenson, number 5 tight end.
He's under 25?
Oh, this is not under 25.
No, this is top 10.
This is ESPN. This
position.
is just top 10 at each
10
position.
at each. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I was thinking 25 under 25.
Yeah. And then
no, we're not doing that today.
And then Darius on number 6 at offensive tackle. Number 6 surprised you how
3?
low Darius was? Number 6? It is 3.
Okay.
That's not surprising. I mean, have you seen the other tackles? Like those are all. That's a hard group to crack, right? Like with Trent Williams at the top, I think Tristan Wirfs is like right ahead of him. Penei Sewell is above him, which I personally, wouldn't, but I totally understand why.
Yeah,
so that's a difficult group. I'm not surprised he's at 6.
It's a difficult group, and when you sit here and think, okay, 3 Vikings, was there any snubs? It's easy to say, man, Brian O'Neill is so solid, he never gets any love. But to your point here, it's just so tough to crack that top 10, man. And Brian O'Neill may be on the bubble, I don't know. But
no Garrett Bradbury, huh?
But it's tough.
I see how it is.
No Garrett Bradbury, huh? What's going on with
how
that?
it is.
Aaron Jones also feels like, especially the way he finished the season last year, maybe being a top 10 running back. But you look at the list of running backs, dude. It's a young man's game.
Difficult to stay in the conversation.
A young man's game.
That's
yeah. Jonathan Grenard, maybe top 10 edge guy. Probably not. Again, when you look at that top 10 list, probably
borderline.
Not.
If they made a top 15, I wouldn't be shocked if he had made it. But top 10?
I don't know. All right, we got a couple minutes left. Let's just roll through any questions here. The Q&A from the crowd here. Kale's Chips. Does Hall or Mullins get more reps in the preseason? What do you guys think? Preseason.
I desperately need to know if this is a DFS question or a Vikings fan question.
Right.
How broken are you, Kale Chips? How much do you need to call the number?
But it's Hall. The answer's Hall.
You think they'll just put Mullins on ice the whole time and then give him the roster spot?
I just feel like...
I think they'll give him like 10 throws the whole preseason. I don't know if he'll be on ice, but he's not going to get a ton.
Yeah, I just feel like they need to see more reps for Hall than they do Mullins, right? It's just the same thing with practice, right? Like they kind of know what they got with Mullins. They don't know exactly where Hall is and if he's taken that next step from year 1 to year 2 and all that. So maybe not just ice him and not even suit him up, but man, I just can't imagine him getting a lot of run. I just really can't.
I kind of have a hot take here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Jaron Hall is a child left behind. I think he plays in maybe one preseason game and then he gets cut.
Okay. Again, not great for my preseason fantasy team. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, no, you drafted poorly. We all agree.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. Yeah, not great. When is the real draft, by the way? I know that was the practice run and everything. What are we doing? Oh, boy. All right, leave them one and more. Let's end on a high note. We got to get out of here. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. After you're done with this, go check out Luke Braun on the Locked On Vikings, plus Arif Hassan, always ripping it up over the Wide Left Substack. Hey, anything new you got? Anything new as of late you've worked on, maybe Vikings related, maybe not, that we can go check out?
Not Vikings related. I was going to write something about like the diminishing importance of the preseason, and then Olympic controversy happened about some boxers. If you've heard about it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, check it out over at the Wide Left Substack. It's about the history of the organization that started the controversy, the IBA. It's a pretty long piece. I'm very proud of it. Wrote it overnight after the controversy erupted.
Wow.
Other than that, we've got pieces from Luke Braun about the kicker battle that John Parker Romo lost.
Not happy, pretty salty about it as well, it sounds like.
But a long breakdown of Will Reichard's mechanics, by the way. You can just skip the Parker Romo part.
Yeah, well, no. I think it's good because it gives us kind of some insight into why somebody who has a lot of kicks in the XFL or the UFL, whatever we want to call it now, that was successful, didn't even make it to training camp. Like, it's a good breakdown of why something like that would occur and what the differences are between Will Reichard and John Parker Romo and why, one would be more risky than the other or why one was a better prospect than the other. So we've got that. But yeah, I mean, there are a couple of football breakdowns in there, kind of an analytics breakdown of Jared Goff. Hey, is this guy any good? It's a follow-up on the Jordan Love piece. Is that guy any good? So
can I have the cliff notes? Is Jared Goff any good?
Statistically. But no, I mean, like in terms of the things that we use to define good quarterbacks,
right. Is he elite?
No.
Everybody just wants to know, is your quarterback elite or not?
Yeah, there's even a discussion about that.
In 2014, and I haven't had a new idea in decades.
there's even a discussion about that because when we call a quarterback average, that's an insult, which is an insane thing.
I know
that's an insult. But Jared Goff is probably average, and I don't mean that as an insult.
Hey, you need a word that means medium. Like you say mid, and you mean bad.
Right.
You just say bad.
Well, either hot or cold nowadays, man.
Right.
Hey,
well, when you say mediocre, that means bad.
That means bad. When you say average, it means bad.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're
I think it's like particularly in Minnesota Vikings circles, we're so poisoned by Kirk Cousins.
It's so true.
That anything that's medium is we revulse. Yeah, we reject it like a bad kidney transplant.
I think we have like the language has to be like, oh, he's a top 20 quarterback. Like that's.
Hey, dude, you're the 17th best quarterback in the world. You're terrible, dude. You're
gonna end up on one of those like NBA Twitter style memes.
Well, I mean,
some 15-year-old that can't bench his own weight.
Seville ran one of the fastest 100-meter dashes that we've seen in Olympic history. Fourth. Dude.
Yeah.
Didn't medal. Yeah, didn't medal. First, second, third, didn't medal. Right here.
Actually, no, Seville was last. That's crazy. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
The other Jamaican that wasn't Thompson was fourth. That's crazy, dude. That
was unbelievable, man. Track and field. I mean, all the Olympics, Summer Olympics are great, but this track and field stuff is my favorite. I don't know about you guys, but it's
so exciting. It's so inherently exciting, and like because football, like there's so much luck involved with football, like just the way the ball bounces, or just like random things out of your control. There's obviously a lot of luck involved in track and field, but it doesn't feel like that because it's just running, and if you run faster, you win. Like that feels so pure. So I like it.
Sam said he went on a trip somewhere, but honestly, I know he loves the Olympics so much. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just sitting in his basement right now, hasn't shaved, right, in the hoodie, sweatpants, doing the whole thing.
He's watching like Team Epee bronze medal match.
Yeah, dude. Hey,
he's in the mines.
Yeah. Honey, did you go to bed tonight? Why is the fireplace still on? It's the summer. What are we doing here, Sid? Go check out the Wide Left Substack. A lot of good stuff over there. Can't wait to check that out. We'll be back Thursday with the full crew. Sam Ekstrom back. Ron Johnson, I'm sure, talking more Vikings training camp news and notes and previewing Saturday's preseason game versus the Raiders. Go like this video. Subscribe to the channel. So close to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. All right, that'll do it for us. Luke Braun, Arif Hassan, Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.